Welcome to the Shared Practices Podcast, Season 6 on growth. We get to have back a very special guest today. I think the last time we had her on the show, I was recording. No, I had a phone call with our guest today in my closet on like a Saturday morning, hiding from my kids, because we had met in person at DSI and just hit it off and had some amazing conversations. And then those conversations continued. We have with us the president of Productive Dentist Academy, Regan Robertson. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you so much for having me back. I love that you remember the closet because I was in my closet as well.
Saturday morning, sometimes they'll find something to do as long as you can hide. They can have fun.
I think it's the best thing ever if you can have two nerds hiding in a closet talking dentistry and marketing together. Like that's pretty adorable.
Yeah. And we got like graphic designy, we got into I've been making logos. I've got like Illustrator up. I was stuck in army meetings last week and making logos and all sorts of stuff. And I'm like, why am I doing this? And it's because I like it. And
because dentists are artists also. So that doesn't surprise me at all.
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
Well, I knew I had to have you back on this season. We're doing a season on growth and marketing. And it's kind of your jam. You've grown in PDA, and through that path, you came through the marketing world. So tell us about your background in all of this.
Absolutely. So I have been in marketing for a little over 20 years. I started out as a graphic designer. That was my passion. Visual messaging, I'm extremely excited about. I still get up really excited about it every day. I would say that I'm just endlessly curious. And so I went from visual design into understanding the messaging aspect, how important that was. Then elevated, went through marketing management, gobbled up that, understood brand management, got gobbled up and excited in that. I met PDA 10 years ago, met the co-founders Victoria Peterson and Dr. Bruce B. Baird, and they gave me an opportunity to be part of the brand new marketing agency they were starting in-house. So I came over as artistic director, and the continuous curiosity has never stopped. So I'm just undyingly passionate about really helping businesses thrive, and marketing is an element of that. And I think I've learned over 20 years that marketing is not just an ad that you put out there. It's something that is inherent, like a culture. So it flows throughout your entire being. The company is an organism, and marketing is part of that puzzle.
Well, and I love that you've said like shown your journey of how you've learned and evolved within that. I feel like marketing, the reason I've been hesitant to do this as a season of the podcast is it's not going to age well if we get like really nitty gritty with random tactics and certain platforms, because so much changes all the time. And so, we say, hey, as of today, if you just put, $200 in this kind of Facebook ad and it's going to do great, like in a year, it's going to be different. And the platform will have shifted, and what was playing well now doesn't play well. And what gets good reach doesn't get good reach. So there's a lot of times we just want the answer. Just give me the cookie cutter blueprint of exactly how to get patients. When I put money into the machine, I want patients out. And it's more of
like a Polaroid camera.
Yeah, just
yeah,
print them on out. But it's like you said, a mindset, a philosophy, a culture, and one that frankly is not taught well in dental school, and I think doesn't come naturally to a lot of people. I want to hear broad picture principles. We're going to talk about some overarching things that are going to be timeless, and then I'm going to try and squeak some details out of you as often as I can on platforms and tactics, just to give the people a little bit of what they want, even though it's not good for them sometimes.
Deal. I'm all in for that. I think as I went through my own marketing journey for the first 10 years, I would say from high school on, when I was in college, I really did focus in on tactics, because as a person, it gave me value to be able to tangibly turn something over and say, we recommend this ad platform, and so I'm skilled in this, I can deliver this, and so I just felt like it was very transactional piece, and marketing can feel that way to a lot. And I talk to dentists all the time who just don't want to advertise at all. And since they have a lot of PPOs, they typically don't have to. I mean,
Mm.
that's done for them. I found my grandfather. I never met my grandfather. Unfortunately, he passed before I was born, but he owned a series of car dealerships.
Mm.
And my dad gave me his sales book. He was where he wrote his notes out, and he did sales training. He created sales training for his car salesmen. This was from like the 40s and the 50s. And I
Yeah.
opened it up, and the first page was Know Your Buyer. And he was talking about how a man and a wife will come to the dealership, and the man will be in charge. Now remember, this was the 40s, will be in charge of the conversation, but you are not selling to him. You are selling to his wife, and here's why. And that blew my mind. And I thought, well, hey, that was in the 1940s. So what still stays true? And the one thing that does stay true is relationship above all else, and understanding who you're helping in the problem that you solve. And the tactics are merely a delivery mechanism to that. So if you don't know the problem you're solving, and you don't know the intimate details about your patients, the tactics will get you absolutely nowhere. And that's the scary part. That's where you throw away the thousands of dollars.
And we purposefully did season on um, case acceptance and a season on leadership culture and change before this season, because if a patient enters your office, number one, you don't know how to like present treatment like a human being and get people bought in and help them get to that point where they're taking care of themselves. And then number two, if the culture in your office isn't there, your systems aren't in place, you can't lead your team in all of these efforts. If you don't have the core kind of systems in place and then you just dump a bunch of money on the marketing fire, you're burning money, you're wasting it. And so um, I think it's also interesting to think about marketing and case acceptance. Fred Joyle, everything is marketing. It turns everything we do in the practice into marketing. And I also think case acceptance goes the other way. If we can begin the case acceptance process when they visit the website, when they're, finding us on socials and finding us online, it makes it so much easier when they come in because they come in with such great trust. So we want high trust patients coming in the door, and every single step along the way, we are further marketing our practice to them and everyone that they're going to send to our practice. And so it all intermeshes.
Yeah, amen. I couldn't agree more with you on that. That is, you want to make the job easy for the team and easy for the doctor. And marketing can be used as a tool for that. Absolutely. You hit the nail on the head too when you get down to talking about really understanding yourself and your practice and culture. I appreciate how you set your seasons up, because if none of that is aligned, if you don't really know your philosophy of care and are honed in, then how is your team going to be expected to follow that? Or say, for example, I see this a lot where you have partners and they might have differing philosophies of care, and maybe they even have their own teams within the practice, but then there's a conflict there as well that can heavily impact, for positive or negative, the overall patient experience. So yes, get it right inside before you go outside.
Well, so we've explored this topic a little bit of like vision and purpose and defining that as a team, but I'm interested in talking about this now in the perspective of marketing. Like, okay, how do we develop our philosophy of care and then communicate that forward? Um, so if you had an office that you look at their website, you talk with them, you can't really tell. Like they seem like they do dentistry and they take care of teeth and people. And
Yes.
that's really all you could pick up from the website. um, how do you walk them through that? How do you get to the point where someone is like, okay, we now have a clear philosophy of care and we are able to communicate this online and in our messaging?
Okay, there's two routes we'll take here with this. The first
Okay.
would be in the messaging itself. Say you are very clear about your philosophy. For example, you are extremely passionate about placing implants. Let's say that. So the message,
Hypothetically, I don't know anyone like that.
right. So if you're super passionate about placing implants, there's three levels to the messaging and imagery that you use in a campaign, be it video, be it direct mail, whatever tactic you choose. The first is a what I call a transactional level. That is the actual physical problem that you solve. I have a missing tooth. I need it replaced. people that advertise um, with that just transactional mindset, that's where you see price wars going on. So you don't see a lot of communication of value happening at that point. It is a transactional, I have this need, you can fill this need. And so then that's when you'll see the whitening specials and the different, it really starts to drill down into the competitive place all around price, which is where you really don't want to be if
Mm,
you're looking to close the back door in your practice and maintain a lifelong relationship with these patients. The second level in your messaging, which I see many more practices doing than I did, like even say 10 years ago, 5 years ago, is
sure.
hitting the emotional chord. So that should be no surprise whatsoever. In imagery, you'll see the full smiles with the missing teeth replaced. You'll see the happiness with it. And the messaging in that, instead of saying, do you have a missing tooth? You'll see a billboard that says, imagine biting into a cob of corn again. So now they're hitting. So the first hits your head, I have a problem. The second is hitting your heart. You're saying to me as a dentist, I understand how this feels. I don't want to smile at my son's graduation because I have this front tooth that's missing. It's really bothering me. So imagery around that and messaging that hits the emotion of the person is the second level.
Mm,
The third, and this is where I see the top 1 to 5% of dentists really doing, this is the truly deep, why is it unfair? This is the stuff that people don't want to talk about when they're sitting in the chair right out of the gate. They might have the trust issues and it's not built up yet. And that's, why is it unfair that I have a missing tooth? And that could be a variety of reasons. One reason could be, I don't want to call you because I'm afraid I don't have a good credit score and I'm afraid that I can't afford this and I'm going to get judged as soon as I get in that seat. So I'm just not, I'm not even going to answer your ad. Or it could be, I did drugs 10 years ago or 20 years ago, and now my teeth are suffering and I'm embarrassed because of that. And nobody's going to want to help me. So there's something deeply rooted in that third level of why. And that, if you can convey it in not only messaging, stories, and imagery, that is the piece that will set you up for the best chance at success by the time they get into that chair. So you could say, for example, do you have a low credit score? That's not a problem. We offer compassionate finance and they go off of your payment history, or something like that. Or you could share a testimonial of someone who did the same thing. They did drugs and it was a bad choice. Their life is right. And now they have a new smile and a new life because of it.
mm.
So that getting to that third level of why on the messaging side is critical.
So I've been hanging on like everywhere because I'm like, okay, pricing, price wars, and then emotional. I'm like, I'm with you. And then this, why is it unfair? I'm just trying
Yeah,
to like process that like language around this. Um, so you're trying to help connect with them on a deeper sense of I'm getting hung up on the word unfair. Talk me through that word.
absolutely. I'll do two personal things. Let's see. So for me, when I was a teenager, I had cystic acne really bad, like really bad. And it really bothered me. I still, I didn't have like big issues in school or anything. I was still a happy kid. I still had lots of friends. But deep down inside, the first problem on my transactional level was I would like to not have acne. And there's a product for it. And then the secondary piece around the feeling emotion of it would be, geez, I would love to go to a dance recital and not be worried about people looking at my face. So that's my emotional. The third level that makes me cry is, why did I have to get acne? Like,
Mm.
why me? Like, there's so many other people that I looked at school and they were just beautiful and didn't have any problems. Why me? And that is where it felt unfair.
How do you connect with people on that? Like, so this is good. I'm just like trying to think of like how to strike that chord. Um, because it does seem like a little bit like, what's the word for this? Like the why me seems like a little not entitled, but like you're kind of getting deep in their
Mhm.
emotional levels here, and it's a space that like people have and they don't admit, and so
Yeah.
maybe that's what you're trying to say is you're trying to get to this like we get this at a deep
Yes.
level.
That is connection and relationship building, and it is the foundation of authentic marketing. And the truth is, to really grow a practice that is outstanding, known for exceptional care, and you get the lifelong patients, you're going to want to make that level of connection.
Hmm. Okay. That's hard to do.
It is hard to do. It's not easy to do. I think it's really it's stripping away a lot. I mean, I can share from personal experience, especially thinking through my own career. If somebody wants a logo, let's just get the logo done. I know I'm a screaming awesome designer. Let's just get this logo done and out there. And then when I started asking deeper questions, I started learning more about them. The way I designed changed, the way I connected with the changed. Most importantly, yes, I got the logo designed for them, and I also had an ongoing, steady stream, lifelong client. I have been in PDA for 10 years, specifically with Productive Dentist Academy, and I still have clients from more than 10 years ago who will contact me and just ask me advice or talk to me and have me review things. That is the power of building relationship and connecting with people on that level.
That's amazing. And I also love logo design. So I mean, like I said, we're always talking the same language here. Um, let's take this. We've talked about the communication piece and how we can connect with patients. How about the like authority marketing side of this and building a brand and um, really setting yourself apart from just like copy paste another dental practice.
Mhm.
Especially PDA, you guys deal with dentists who are wanting to do bigger cases, who are wanting to, aesthetic cases, full mouth rehabs, implant type cases. How would you recommend kind of big picture philosophically, approaching that? And then, I'm going to try and get some tactics out of you too.
Absolutely. Well, so you've shared with me off recording, that you're pretty passionate about some specific procedures. So what are you passionate about, Richard?
Well, I closed on a practice 2 days ago, and we are doing dentures and implants, and so we are gonna be doing overdentures and all on 4 and immediate dentures and taking people who need to hit the reset button on their smile and try this again. So that's what I'm excited about these days, and I'm really excited about how do I tell the story of these patients and capture the story and capture the emotion and the befores and the afters. So that's what I'm excited about.
Why do you love doing those procedures?
There is a certain like hopelessness with a lot of these patients where people have like given up on their mouth, on their smile, and therefore a lot of times on their self-confidence. Um, and just being able to like interact with people with ease and comfort and confidence and happiness and to like take that hopelessness and then say, hey, no, we can do this and we can change this around, and getting to see them light up when they get their smile back and they can be themselves when that doesn't have to hold them back, is awesome.
Why does that matter to you?
um I mean, that's the most fun in dentistry, like that for me is uh way more than like you got a tooth you can chew with. This is like you're changing. I'm changing people's lives via their smile and allowing them to do more and experience joy and be confident, and be happy.
Right. And do you think everybody has the same passion that you have in their own practices?
Probably about different things.
Right, right. I think getting to your bedrock and understanding what drives you and why you want to do this. You realize we're not even really talking about dentistry at this point. You said right there you want new hope for people. You want to give them new hope in their smile. You want to reach down to where they're at and tell them that there's absolutely a way that you can help them live a better life. That's it. That you're so it's funny to me that you say you don't really want to get down to that third, like you're a little nervous about getting down there, but you're already down there. And that's the beginning of authority marketing, is being very, very clear about who you are. It how can I set this up so that your listeners, I'm
This
reaching out to you right now.
Wait, but this is great because I thought, and coming into this, I've associated authority marketing with setting yourself up as like the person. You're the guy, you're the girl, you're the dentist that everyone, when they think of this procedure, they think of her.
Yes,
Um,
and you're right.
so that's what I'm thinking of authority marketing. But I haven't thought about authority marketing as being the person who understands someone better, not just like you're the person who lectures on this and you've got the CE and the credentials and the look at me on stage, I'm cool, but but more than anyone else, I understand where you're coming from, and I'm going to meet you at your level, and I'm going to help you through this situation because I get what you're feeling, I get where you're coming from, and I don't know why, for some reason, that didn't fall into authority marketing for me. That kind of, but I like that.
It's the secret weapon to authority marketing. Look up Dr. Dave Deal
Okay.
and his practice. Go to his website. I believe his tagline is New Hope for Your Smile. He is an absolute authority. He loves CERAC. He is the most compassionate dentist I've ever met, and he has cornered his market. It all comes, Richard, from passion. And what's so exciting for me is, in your case, you know where you're going, you know what you love doing. And so you're just going to need a few simple pieces, and then you're going to be off to the races. It's going to be fantastic for you. Taking that piece of, so now we know who you are, you're able to get in front, like play that clip in front of your team and explain to them and show them why this matters so much. You're now on a mission. You're no longer, placing dentures and moving it through and looking and hitting your goals. Like it's no longer about money and about growth. It's growth in a different way. And you're on a mission together. That is something that's the only reason people get up and do what they do every day. They believe that they are going and making lives better. So telling that story is important. Any practice that is maybe confused about it or has conflict over it, that's definitely the place to start. The next piece to that in growing your authority is understanding who is in your community and who needs your care, and going deep into the demographics. So I know our agency, that's one of my favorite parts to nerd out, is that the first thing we do is go into the demographics and look at, down to not just the cars that they drive, but where they shop, what music they listen to, what clubs they belong to, what hobbies they have, what if they are on social media or not. And if so, where do they go on social media? That's why I tend to stay away from tactics, because tactics are simply, it's just a scientific method. And the only way that you're going to know is to do that research and ask yourself the question and get the results that tell you where you need to be fishing. Basically, I call it find the right fishing hole. So what's cool about that, where authenticity and authority line up, is you'll start to see in these ideal patients of yours, the one that needs dentures, they may have a hobby that aligns with your hobby. Or maybe they are, a large amount of them are veterans, which you can also tie to. So you start to see similarities, and we call that linking at PDA. So that's linking. And you know not only where to go and be, to attract new patients, but now you also know how to have conversations in your marketing message and when they're in your chair. And that's another very powerful relationship building tool that's part of that patient experience. So you are embedding yourself, you're relating to them, and your passion will just roll right off of you. You can't even help it. And think of Elon Musk. Whenever you think of him, it really doesn't take much to know what he's passionate about. And in fact, he says, don't place your bet in people or places, place it on a mission. So by staying true to your mission, you will become naturally an authority over time. And the other part of that is then sharing what you know. So many dentists are introverts by nature. And also they don't want to come off as, I don't know, highfalutin, over engineering. There's all sorts of barriers. I would call them silly, but they're not. They're true, genuine barriers. And I don't think of marketing as promoting or selling. I think of marketing as sharing. And that comes also, again, from being inside and being confident about who you are and what you provide and being proud to share it. We think that we are seen, and we are seen like a pinky's worth of what we're actually seeing in the market. So there is never a bad time to share about what you're passionate about.
Okay, so you've got me hyped up on the passion. How do you capture that passion and bring that to your marketing? Like, and right now, and people are probably sick of me bringing this up from other episodes. I'm fixated on video right now. I'm like going all in on video production. I'm got a bunch of new lenses and cameras and lights and gear and all the above. Um, and TikTok in particular. Um, is a medium that I feel like rewards good storytellers who tell a more emotional stories and who connect with people. And if you can create content that plays well there, it will play well anywhere. That's where I don't think people are actually going to get a ton of patience for the most part from TikTok. But if you can create video that would do well on that platform, it is video that would do well on any platform. Um, so video seems like a really good place to start in terms of conveying this.
Mhm.
Um, but I'm looking at like I'm interviewing in an hour and 20 minutes another video company that's what they do is they record high end video. It's Broken Door Media. I can't remember Cassidy's last name. But I'm looking at these kinds of companies and saying like, oh, okay, what pieces do I need to record now, and how do I
Mhm.
incorporate this on an ongoing basis? Very much kind of the logistics of how do I I think I'm telling our story, but I want to make sure that we're telling it on our website, we're telling it on social media, and that it's not just a one-time thing. We recorded one video once and then we're done telling our story, we're over it.
Right.
Um, so anyways, I don't know if I asked any good questions there,
You
but
did. You did.
yeah.
Well, video is always a yes. Video is a tool, and it's a great tool, and it helps you connect with your community in a way that's living and breathing. So that's fantastic, and it's been, it was important before COVID, and now it's even more important today. What is vitally critical in that video is a framework for communication. You want to make sure that you have a framework for communication. You are being very intentful about how you tell your stories. One of the things that we do is help dentists tell their stories in a way that is I don't know how to say it. It's the most beautiful framework for getting a point across and connecting through that video with them. So if you just get on and start talking, I would say that's not a bad first step. If you just get on and be yourself, and I would say let your emotion come out, get out of your scrubs and do that. If you're looking at something like TikTok, for example, TikTok can be great if you're looking for that particular demographic. What's the age range? And I wouldn't say that people below or people. I would say there's people in their 50s and 60s.
There's definitely hashtag denture gang is definitely a thing on TikTok. Like, it
See,
exists. There's
see,
a whole group of people on there. But I agree. I think that if I was an orthodontist or a pediatric dentist, it would be a more high yield platform for what I'm going for. Um, I want to circle back to this, like what you were talking about of how to tell your story, because I've been watching a lot of example videos of dentists who've made these expensive practice videos for their practice. And
mhm.
sometimes I tune out in like the first 3 seconds. I'm like,
Doesn't it break your heart too? Because they spent over 10,000 easy on
they
these
spend a
gorgeous
ton of
videos.
money.
I
Yeah.
know.
And they're just talking about themselves and I don't care.
Nope.
Like,
Because it's not about them, and that is a really tricky thing because it really isn't. You are simply a support and a guide. Everybody who is watching a video, they're watching for themselves. They're the hero in their own story, to quote Donald Miller. They are the hero of their own story, and you are there as the Yoda. You're there as the guide to help them solve the problem that they have and make them feel better about themselves or make them feel healthier or whatever it is that their end goal is. So it's very seductive to want to explain to them why you're so important. So a lot of these practice videos that I see, especially the gorgeous ones with the drone shots of the
yeah,
practice and everything, and then the doctor starts talking about his or her credentials, and they go
right.
down that route, and then and
The
then they show the
technology and the
yes,
team and
yes. And they don't. Patients don't even understand the difference in the technology for the most part. Some people don't even understand that they need an implant. They don't even know what an implant is. I just
right.
looked up all on four for one of my friends of mine the other day, and I said, "Oh my gosh, you didn't even know this was a thing." They don't. That's not what's important. Remember, Richard, you are reaching out. You are talking directly to them. So the first thing out of the gate, I would say, is make sure you're talking to them, and you don't say, "We help patients." It's you. I help you.
Mm.
And why do I help you? And be very clear about why you're in this business, why you are helping. And I did not hear you say, I'm super passionate about airway. I'm going to talk about airway issues. You really are reaching out. And that what's powerful about that is you are stripping away the fear of not catching enough patients' attention, and you're speaking directly to what you are passionate about. So that's where your passion comes in, and you can keep it in their mindset versus your mindset. The authority piece, like talking about credentials and whatnot, that can come as part of the video. It just needs to be set further back. And typically it's held forward facing, which is the mistake.
Right. Okay.
So you want to connect, you want to make sure that they understand this is about them. TikTok is a great platform for that because the content creators have honed this.
Yes.
And many of that are in my feed, it's all about helping. It's just how do I help you make your life better in what, do I water my plants better because of TikTok?
Yeah. The life
So
hack.
yeah, so there's a lot to be earned from that, and in any story, just pick up a book, any fiction book, and they don't immediately start talking about the characters, credentials and technology they use and anything. They really start off with what a problem, what is
Mm,
provocative, and what journey is that person going to take.
hmm. Okay. So connecting, talking directly to the patient, really not focusing on me, my office, my technology, all these things. I almost feel like there's like a certain point in the video where they're bought in, and then
Yes.
they just need to like mentally check the blocks. Okay, they got beautiful office and they've got the technology and they've got the team. Okay, great, 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 great. I'm going there. Um, how does this interplay with um patient testimonials and storytelling that way?
You're so
How
good
do
at this. You were like in my head. I was just
I
going to
was
say, let's talk about how you can look at your story today, right now.
Right, and I was up till 2 AM, watching all sorts of videos like this because it's like I'm this is very much my world. I've got certain patients lined up that, like, I'm gonna, work with them and give them a great offering and create a lot of video content with those patients, and, so I'm trying to figure out how I'm gonna do this and how can I do this at a high production value with a company once up front, and then how can I do this on an ongoing basis? Um and so yeah, how do you incorporate patient stories into marketing? And then with all of this as well, how do we then turn this into like conversion and channels, the ponds that we're fishing at? Because you can, I've also seen people who like get all of this video content and then like they've got it on their YouTube channel and they've got it like somewhere in their website, and I don't know how much else they're doing with it, if anything.
Oh,
Um,
you
let's put a pin in that and
I
come
was
back to
going to
that.
say put a pin in that because I can help you get a lot more out of one video. So there's like think of a video as the head of an octopus,
Okay.
and you can splay it in many different directions. What to back up a little bit, what you were talking about really is probably the number one mistake I see in dentistry, far and wide in many small businesses, and that is that the expectation that marketing puts out does not align with delivery.
Mm.
And that is where your patient testimonials come in that you were just speaking to, is vitally important and critical, and where your referrals come through as well. So you can spend 20,000 plus dollars on really fancy video recording, or 10 or whatever it is, and get the drone shots and all that. You can even tell a really good story out front, like that, so that your passion comes through. And say, for example, that does get the initial attraction and they do pick up the phone and call, and perhaps the call was a little chunky, it didn't go so well. They end up coming in, and their expectation was that they were going to get this very high level of care from the exceptional way that your video looked and sounded, and then the actual experience isn't quite living up to it. That
Mm.
is a major disconnect. So using it, that is why it's so important to be authentic and true in your messaging and realistic in your messaging, as opposed to just shining as many lights as you can onto things. That's why you see some dentists absolutely killing it with homemade videos.
Mm.
And the way that you can tell is to go to your Google reviews right now and pull all of them, good or bad. I like to take them as like an investigative experience and pull out all of the words. Google will do it for you if you have enough of the reviews. You'll see summaries. So at the top of it, when you click on the practice, you'll see summaries, like 16 people said comfort was important, or they liked that you had an iPad or whatever it is. So technology might come up. So you can get a feel for what you're actually delivering in those reviews. If you don't, I just recommend pulling as many as you can and pulling out the words good or bad and laying them out on the table and look and say, this is the story that we're telling. Are we actually living up to this. And I did that with Dr. Dave Deal, which I mentioned earlier. He had a very interesting story, and I took it and put it against his website and his social media advertising and the videos, and you could actually see the words that he says are reflected in his reviews.
Hmm.
So when you go to create that video, make sure that that patient experiences, if you're going to tell the story, I would be checking in with that patient throughout their entire journey to make sure that it's met their expectations, and have them be, comfortable enough to tell the story. And then you can take that story. This is your secret that you're looking for authentic, not authentic, authority marketing. You will take that story and you can record it. Yes, it can go on YouTube. You can take the raw video file and upload it directly to Facebook, which is better than posting the YouTube link. You can splice it and use it in your TikToks. That would be great. You can be sure to add it to your stories on Instagram. And so there's lots of different technical ways that you can take that information. I would also recommend that you use it in your community. So you could pick it up with a local newspaper. What if it's a particularly touching story, like we talked about with drug use, for example? Somebody who's turned their life around. Go to the local newspaper and explain that you want to do this. You could even do the case for free in exchange for media coverage. You could do something like that. You could turn it into a magazine article even. Oh, go ahead. You
I was
had a
going to ask.
little.
No, this is great. This is awesome. But now you got me on tangents again. How do you do that with like the newspapers and like magazine articles at a local level? Because I've heard people, people in shared practices, namely George, my partner, has created magazines and sent those out, and those were like a
Oh, he's
magazine
created
from
his own
his
magazine.
own
Uh-huh.
magazine and
Yes.
sent that out, and that's done very, very well.
Hmm.
Um, but I want to take the other side of this of how do you get into, like there's the Indianapolis Star, but then there's also like a Brownsburg magazine, or a newspaper. There's like the newspapers and the magazines that circulate in towns and communities. Like, how hard is it to get into those? How is that expensive? Is it are they looking for content? Like, how do you do that?
There's two routes that you can go. If you're on the guerrilla marketing side, I was in publishing for 10 years before PDA. Call the editor. It's not that difficult. Call the editor and explain to them what it is that you're interested in and what you're excited about. If they don't have a Dear Doctor corner in their weekly paper or their daily paper, you could approach them about that and ask about it. You just be very much yourself. I'm really passionate about this. I want to get the word out, and we've got a case that's really interesting that may be, appealing. And so do look for something that makes it newsworthy. And you can Google, how can I make my story newsworthy? And
Mm,
that'll help you understand what's a little bit different. And working with editors for so long, anything that looks like it's worth sharing that's not an ad is important. So again, keeping focus on that patient is critical as opposed to you and the practice. And then you can in the story share the technology that you used. Another route to go, which will really amp up your power. So once your practices are established and you're ready to turn it on, you can negotiate with media buyers. So I know our agency, we negotiate with media buyers all the time, and you can buy packages. I know Dave Deal he has a spot on the local TV station that he has. He's from a fairly large area, and he has a medical, I think it's Medical Minute, it's called. It's fantastic. And so now he is seen as the person in his community and abroad, like in his region, as
mm,
the one person, the one dentist that TV station points to. And so they talk to him about, COVID and the PPE that they're doing. They talk about, your little oral health update, what you may be or may not be aware of. I mean, it's incredible. So you can do it the guerrilla route, or you can do it the media package route. So I would say connect with an agency that's really good at media buying, and they can get you all sorts of radio interviews, TV interviews, newspaper interviews, things like that.
mm.
Or if you don't have the budget, call them up. I'm take them cookies.
Yeah.
I'm laughing and I'm dead serious.
If only I was like good behind a microphone. That would be, maybe I
Right.
should reach out to the radio people.
Maybe
Um,
so.
I don't know. This is okay. This is fantastic. We've been all over the place, and I love it. So we've talked about all of these ways to establish authority marketing to tell stories. Um, would there be anything you'd add to wrap up this piece of how do I make sure that I'm using this across not just like my website and in certain videos, but that like the way that you do your Google ads and your Facebook ads, like how do you pull that? Because that's also really interesting to me is like we talked about a lot of Google ads and Facebook ads will go back to that price. You know, it's like they've got an offer. And so I'm going to click on that offer. How do you use paid advertising in digital and this storytelling and this connecting and this video and the authority, all of that come through in like a little ad? Is that even possible?
You're asking for a strategy.
Yes.
Yeah, you need a strategy. So the answer to it is a strategy because it's going to inform whether or not you do those ads, yes or no, how many you do, the frequency with which you do. I was just on a podcast, Dental Marketing Secrets podcast, I think it was, and he's a below the line engineer nerd, I say in the most awesome way ever, and he goes down into the actual tactics of like, a lot of testing, which is what our agency does. So you do a lot of testing. You put out the image,
Maybe.
A/B split testing constantly. The images are really important. One image might skyrocket, the other may not. One thing to look out for, especially since you were passionate about dentures, if somebody gives you an ad with like a 20-something-year-old smiling and said, well, that'll get the most attention, pay very close attention to that. Because typically, if you're going towards a market that is 50 or 60, you only want to age down about 10 years.
Mm,
And so you want to make sure that somebody maybe that's 40. So it just gives them that little bit of like, oh, this could be me, as opposed to that's not me at all. So, how you pull your story together and how it all comes together with the Google ads, the Facebook advertising, the Instagram, and the YouTube advertising, all of that needs to be congruent. And that's really what you're looking for. That comes from strategy. Get with an agency that can help you develop a strong strategy that informs the tactics, and that will ensure that you're being congruent through the line so that you're not doing like something funky on Facebook that has nothing to do with the Google ad. They're completely separate and different. That causes brand confusion, Richard, so bad. And it ends up and when you cause brand confusion, now you're putting in these little subconscious distrust levers and you're making the job harder for the dentist.
mm. So patients kind of, it's almost like they want to see the same, not the same thing, but like it wants to feel continuous from the ads from one platform to the other to the website to the messaging.
It doesn't
Um,
have to be identical, but it does have to feel consistent. It has to be a consistent experience across the board.
mm,
So with messaging, for example, if you say Shazam, I've got, all on fours, and then the next ad that you happen to see, because now you're in a retargeting campaign. So you pop onto some, I don't know, some website, and it's got that retargeting ad going. And all of a sudden it says, calm, cool, and collected, dental implants here. It's a completely different message that they're getting. So you want to make sure that the tone is correct, that the messaging is consistent in the emotion that you want to bring forth and the feelings, all of those things. So the energy level should be the same and the imagery should be complementary. So it should feel like an experience. It's not a copy, but it's a shared experience.
mm. Okay. Okay. You gave me strategy here. Um, let's go let's go back to the low hanging fruit in general, since I've gotten you into strategy world. You fell for my trick and you were very gracious to do that. Um, if someone bought a practice, and we aren't talking about me, we're going to like a GP world, get away from, let's get away from the denture stuff. If someone, because we have this all the time, people say, hey, I bought a practice, I want to grow, I don't even know where to begin. What would be the things that you would look at? Where's the low hanging fruit of, ugh, you got to make sure these things are good. And then here are some pawns based on the type of patient, say they're looking for patients who would be a good hygiene patient, would need some restorative work. Maybe they need some additional, specialty procedures once in a while, but an otherwise non PDA, non, denture and implant practice patient, like a normal human being with some dentistry that needs done. Um, where would you start to say of like, okay, what would I think about first, and then what would I start trying?
So are
How
these,
do I go about that?
is this a scratch start practice with zero patients?
This is acquisition because this is more our world. Marketers
Oh.
love startups because they can like paint the whole picture from scratch. However, we tend to on shared practices recommend people do acquisitions
Mhm.
because um, it's so much easier, so much less work to just
Yes.
walk into a patient base and a healthy cash flowing practice. But
Yes.
then you're like, okay, crap, I don't control the messaging and the website's old and it doesn't match what I've done. Like they're not doing much. You walk into a practice that exists that's got like 15 to 20 new patients a month, and you want to be at like 40, 60, 80 new patients a month because you're trying to grow. You're trying to go from a one doctor practice that you've acquired to a two doctor practice that you can, have a partner in. Um, so that's the question that we get a lot and that I'm trying to answer in this season. And I don't know if I've done a good job. So I need you to help me.
Okay, number one, 2-second answer. Go over to Everyday Practices Podcast, which is my podcast, and listen to the episode that just dropped Wednesday with Dr. Tessa Miller.
Tessa.
Yes, she came in and is a practice acquisition in San Diego, super saturated market, never done marketing before, very nervous about it.
Mm,
We interviewed her, I think, 6 or so months ago at the beginning of her journey. Listen to I cannot believe what she has been able to do with that practice through marketing. It's been ridiculous and not spending a lot of money either, which kills me. I mean, that is like the poster child of San Diego, totally saturated market, and she's killing it. My number one piece of advice for you is if you're going in an acquisition model is you must start with in. So we've already talked about getting your team aligned with your culture and making sure that they understand your philosophy of care. I have been surprised in we do an 8-week program called Business Impact Foundations. And I'm always surprised at the dentists who are successful dentists, and many of them are well established, who do not do an appreciation program, a referral program. And I know in states like, the state regulations are very different in each state. So you have to check it for a referral program. I'm so surprised at how many don't do it.
mm,
And so you are coming in as a new doctor with a patient base that's established. That is your most powerful advertising weapon right there that nobody else in your market has at all. Get in touch with those patients. It's not just a letter. Don't just do a letter and say, okay, this has been acquired. I'm your new dentist. And that really doesn't feel great. It doesn't, I don't know you. I didn't trust you. It's just my doctor sold to you. So why should I like you? You could even do if you can't, like in California, I'm sure they still have a lot of COVID restrictions in place. You could do a virtual open house.
mm,
You could send. I'm not against letters. It needs to be a layered effect. So your layered strategy would be reaching out. You could even do telephone calls, which would be crazy depending on how many clients you have, and then setting up a way to get to know you. Once patients are continually coming in, making sure that it is like clockwork every single time. Two things. If they had a great experience, make sure you ask for that review and explain to them that just be so honest. I am so new to this, like meaning I've just acquired this place. You are an exceptional patient. I would love to have more patients like you. If you know anybody, can you share them with me? That would be fantastic. So it's not a nice to have. I think, oh my gosh, in my decade, if there's one thing that I could share, please don't treat it like it's a nice to have. It is a need to have. It's really, really important. And so many practices fuel their business on referrals, not alone, but almost alone.
mm.
So that is where you will start right out of the gate and start collecting those stories. Remember, the practice is not just the dentist and the team, the practice is the patients. So you
Yeah, go for it.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's how you can collect your stories, and that's how you can start sharing your voice out into the world. The second thing that I would say is making sure that you are congruent. So in acquisition, you love logos, you love design. So I know visually you're going to be like snap, snap, like we're going to get this all taken care of. Make sure someone on your team holds your visual and messaging brand. So do an assessment, do a self-assessment of yourself. Pull every single area that practice had collateral that you know of. Make sure that you see it and know it and can replace it. So update it all at one time if you can. Make sure ask the person that you're acquiring from too, where did they advertise? Did they do the local church bulletin? Like if they've got great patients already, where were they already fishing? So make sure you get their strategy down and you can understand that one, so you can either maintain it Or two, you can contact those people if you're changing your strategy and let them know, I thank you so much. I'm taking over. I am going this direction or I'm not. So getting congruent with your messaging, going deep into the patients and using that as your first and most powerful opportunity. Reach out to them in more ways than just a letter. A letter is good. That's a start. That would be my recommendation.
I love this. Thank you. And that's what um I love what you just said about seeing what worked for that practice, because a lot of times I feel like if a practice is selling, they've probably had the marketing switch like off for a minute. They've probably said like, I'm not going to dump a bunch more into this. But at one point in time, they had that switch full blown, and were really trying different things. And they've got data for that market of like, I've done this, and this. This really worked for me. This not so much. Like here's the results of my experiment. So make sure you collect that data.
I've got something really cool and geeky for you. Go look up Video Ask. Do you know
Okay.
Video Ask?
No.
Okay, go look up Video Ask. And in acquiring this practice, it provides you a way to record an interactive video that you can mass send out to your patients. You can email it and it invites them. You can record a message for them. You could do a general message. Hi, I'm the new doctor. This is what I'm super passionate about. Or you could do an individual. Hi, Jane, blah, 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 blah. And then they have an opportunity to either text you, email you, or video you back. They can ask you any questions in real time. That would be a very enticing way to reach out to someone that goes beyond the traditional formal business letter with your logo on it and a new announcement. That would reach out to me personally and be very exciting if I got an email that said, "Hey, Regan, I'm Dr. Lowe. I just wanted to introduce myself and say hi so you could see my face. Dr. Gray is retiring out. I'm going to be taking care of you and I really want to get to know you. So, I've set this up so that you can really easily, ask me any of your questions and I look forward to, seeing you," whatever the message may be.
So I'm looking at videoask.com right now. So it's like, do you send this out via email? Like, how do you send this?
By email.
Email.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're going to send this to all your existing patients. Um, and it's different than, like, does this embed into the email? Like, what makes this different above and beyond? Or is it like pop out into, I'm assuming it kind of like looks like they click it and play and then it pops out into
Right.
another
It
window?
pops out. Yes. Yes. And I should put in an asterisk. I should have to check HIPAA compliance for this. I can hear my sys ops director in my head saying,
Compliance. Thank you, compliance people, for your
right.
input.
Right. So asterisk everybody.
Yes.
There's other ways I bet you can do it too that are still HIPAA compliant, but it is gets to that point. I think the way it's set up too, it plays like a little GIF, if I remember right too, like so you kind of see that person kind of moving and then you click and it takes you to that additional window.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, and in this, you could um, introduce yourself,
Hmm.
introduce, what you're doing, and then that ask that you just gave us of the referrals, you could do that in that video and say, not only would we love to see you, but at this point in time, I would love if you've got anyone that's like yourself that wants to be part of a great practice. We're here, and if you send them to us, that would mean the world to me.
Yes.
Uh,
Yes.
so,
And if
so
if
you,
you yeah, and if you wanna go low tech on it too, you could record a video from your phone, upload it to YouTube, and you could do a mass email that just says, "Hey, I have a welcome letter. I made a quick video for you." You could go to Facebook and go like every little town seems to have some community page, like a little group. So you could go into the group and upload a video. And I usually ask for forgiveness in like my little town. So I'll be like, "Hey, mods, take this down if it's not okay. I'm new. I'm recently taking over this practice and just wanted to introduce myself." It's basically never taken down. And now you've just given yourself a free ad and a free video, and you can connect with people that way. And you could say the same thing. Any questions, anything, you can text me. You could like buy a burner phone for all I know. I mean, you could separate it and reach out to them that way.
oh, I love it. Okay, this has been great. This has been very you got tactical with us and you
Okay.
gave us some great tools. And I'm loving the I've got the video ask up on the other tab, so I'm gonna totally look into this after the call. So, if someone is interested in um, joining your club and learning more about Reagan and PDA and everything that you guys do. What would be the right way to do that?
Well, you could go to productivedentist.com, and so that's our website. There's a free business health assessment right now, so you could go take that out and discover, where you kind of are at with your practice and see your gaps. So that's really helpful. You could listen to my Everyday Practices podcast, and we debut it every single week. Dr. Chad Johnson and I, or I guess you could look me up on Facebook too.
Nice. Instagram, TikTok, any of those?
No,
Not yet.
no, no,
No, that's good.
not
That's good.
professionally.
That's good. Um, cool. Well, Reagan, thank you. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for diving deep into this stuff. And I'm really excited for our listeners to implement both the very specific stuff around a transition. And like I said, that is like kind of that's the goal of this season of answering that question of I've bought a practice. I don't know where to start. And you delivered on that. But then also people who are saying, I want to take this to another level. I want to be able to connect with patients. I want to be able to tell their story, tell my story, and create this experience for people. We did both today, so that was amazing.
Well, you're very welcome. And I appreciate the opportunity to help alleviate some of the fear around marketing and understanding that the secret to really productive doctors is not about how much you do. It's about being very purposeful and intentional about what you do. So, if I have one thing that I would, just take away is it all begins with who you are and your strategy. That will inform everything else. So you're not spinning a thousand plates and you're not asking yourself, why am I not getting the results that I'm getting? So thank you. I really appreciated it.
Thank you so much. Well, awesome. Everyone, thank you for listening to another episode of the Shared Practices podcast. You can catch us next time. Talk to you later. See you, Reagan.
Bye.